connection to source is you having a deep understanding that you are a direct descendant to source energy, that you are the light and you are frequency, and we are this spirit. That's what we are. We're just in this body temple, and we have to treat it well, this flesh and bones and the brain and the blood and all our health and everything. But essentially we are that energy, because when I was released from the hospital, from this body, when I left and entered to outside of my body, I was not my physical body. I was not the ailments. I was not the paralysis that I was diagnosed with. I was not the rage, the anger, the frustration. I was not that. I was pure, like, light and compassion and understanding, and understanding thoughts, feelings, and emotions through a spirit, through a light, and translucent energy being, a pure energy being. And that's what it is. That's what source is.
Hi, everybody. This is Vision Rebirth podcast, and my name is Erica. And this is a podcast where we explore life-changing stories of near-death experiences, outer body experiences, divine dreams, meditations, and encounters with other beings. Today, we have a special guest. He's a mindset coach that has guided high achievers to breakthrough transformations, which he does through guided intelligence. He's been featured on over 25 podcasts, including Alex Ferrari and Next Level Soul. He was voted the #1 therapist in Calgary, Alberta, and he's also an author with his affirmations book called Arnav's Affirmations. We have the one and only Malcolm Nair. How are you doing, Malcolm?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for that introduction. I appreciate it.
For sure, for sure. So let's just get into it. For you, you had a bad car accident
Yeah.
after, doing drugs and alcohol, and and you were living a life that, was a bit downtrodden.
Mm-hmm.
But in that accident, you had your experience where you left your body. So can you
Yes.
just like explain what that was like?
Yeah. So a lot of people think that, my life was bad, and, I've been through ups and downs, rock bottoms. When you think you hit a rock bottom, you don't expect several rock bottoms to hit you. I've been through over 100 rock bottoms, and I used to count them. I used to be like, this is my rock bottom. And you wouldn't think that it would get worse. And then I would get into addictions. And then you think it wouldn't get worse. Then you'd become homeless. Then you'd think it wouldn't get worse. And then you get raped. Then you think it wouldn't get worse. And then you're in a car accident. Then you think it wouldn't get worse. And you relapse and you get into cocaine and drugs again. So even though I got into my accident, people think that I came back and I just sparked this new connection to source. And although some of that is very true, that I had a deeper connection, I did have abilities right away. I did hear, I'm able to hear thoughts, feelings, emotions, and send signals and frequency, and connect and manifest and create and change cycles, karmas, and patterns. Those I was doing, but I was still negative. So a lot of people think that you got to learn to be positive to attract. I was very negative and toxic, so I didn't even know personal growth, podcasts, documentaries at that time, and I was breaking a lot of rules. Like I lost my license, I had a 7-year criminal record, I had like warrants for my arrest, I just had a bad record. And so when I came back from life support, so we're jumping ahead, but if you want to backtrack later into that story of the hospital, we'll go back there. But when I um, got out of the hospital, like fast forward, got out of the hospital and I was going through recovery, I was actually not changed. I was actually, uh, you know, still had the depression, anxiety. I still had PTSD. I was addicted to drugs. On top of it, pharmaceuticals. I was still resenting my family. I still had a lot of hatred in me. I still had a lot of ego, road rage. I had a lot of pain and suffering and anger and fight in me. Alienation, the way I spoke, the way I treated my kids, the way I talked against their mother or against people, very judgmental, very toxic. And you would think that, hey, you just woke up, you saw the light, you saw angels, you spoke to God, you asked to come back, God granted you to come back, welcomed you to come back. But the recovery process, I had to rediscover and learn what this life is all about. So I had to realize and contemplate the whole actualization that I went through. And I had to process it and learn, like, hey, you're drinking again. What are you doing? And then I would black out on the highway after my car accident. And then, because this was all connection through source and my higher self, my spirit, talking to myself and to God. And I'd black out, and then I would wake up, and cops would be banging on the door, and they'd say, "You're open the door. What are you doing here? You've been here. People have been calling. How can you fall asleep at an intersection on the highway?" And I would be like shocked, and I would think, oh my God, it's over. But God saves you. God saved me and said, and the officer said, "You're lucky that, why are your keys? Did you just plan to take it out, put it on the passenger side, take a nap and relax, and that's what you think you could do? You're lucky I'm not impounding your I'm not you're lucky you're not going to jail, but I'm going to impound your car and take your keys and go home." And that's a shocker, right? So instances like that would happen a lot with drinking, with close calls, relapses, even with smoking, chain smoking. You have a thought? Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you about this connection to source that you're describing.
Yeah.
Can you tell me like what that is, this connection to source?
Yeah, of
And what
course.
is source?
Yeah, so this connection to source is you having a deep understanding that you are a direct descendant to source energy, that you are the light and you are frequency, and we are, this spirit. That's what we are. We're just in this body temple, and we have to treat it well, this flesh and bones and the brain and the blood and all our health and everything. But essentially we are that energy, because where when I was released from the hospital, from this body, when I left and
Yeah.
entered to outside of my body, I was not my physical body. I was not the ailments. I was not the paralysis that I was diagnosed with. I was not the rage, the anger, the frustration. I was not that. I was pure, like, light and compassion and understanding, and understanding thoughts, feelings, and emotions through a spirit, through a light, and and a translucent energy being, a pure energy being. And that's what it is. That's what source is. But it's much larger. There's multiple sources, and you're connected to it all. But you're not as big as the universal source. Like God energy, God force. Like, God is the creator of all everything, and then there's angels, and there's demons, and there's spirits, and there's other energies and dark energies and different light energies, and there's so many different things. And and that's what I come to learn and realize, through a lot of study and a lot of understanding this, and just kind of breaking breaking down the science, so it's very fifth level, uh, five grade level, that somebody can comprehend and understand how to maneuver energy, how to understand dark energy, light energy, how to transmute energy, how to transmute dark energy to attract things. But I hope you understand what source is through that explanation. But source is everything and everything. Like, we're all, like, even this is part of source, like energy molecules, uh to the finest, the cell, like
Right.
everything is energy, right? So
So
that's
it's like what we would call God is almost like that's source, like the
yes,
creator.
yes.
And that's what you learned when you had your experience when you were in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I thought, everything was so individual. And I thought that, it was all ego. And even coming back, I was very skeptical. Still, sometimes when I watch podcasts and stuff, I'm still skeptical. And everyone wants to believe that your truth is the only truth. But everyone's truth is their truth. And it's how it's received and given to them. But yeah. Um, God is the one and only source energy, the main, and then through that, there's everything else. And we're just here as students, and we need to learn the path. We need to learn through the heartaches, hardships, and it hurts. It even hurts as a coach, as a therapist, as a healer. For a lot of healers, therapists, psychologists, there's a lot of people, a lot of clients that I have that are them that have the same feelings. We all go through it. You know, it doesn't make us any better, any less than, any higher than anybody else. We're all sharing the same exact experience in different ways. And, I'm just like the messenger, and I'm able to guide you through your intelligence and help you comprehend and learn faster, because that's what I had to do myself. And I have first hand experience of pain and suffering, anger, rage, and and understanding light. And you know I'm just an experiencer, and we're here to observe and experience.
Now, when you came back to the physical realm, came back into your body, you said that you were essentially still feeling the same feelings as you did before, like the still feeling the negative energy. So my question is like, why did you want to come back if when you came back you were still like in that negative space?
Because I wasn't told that, hey, you're going to go back, to a vegetable body, that you're going to have to recover and heal, that you're going to still have anger, frustration. So I didn't feel deserving to stay where I was in the light, with love and compassion, respect, honor. I didn't feel I deserved it. I felt I deserved to do it right and go through the lessons again properly. I looked at it like, oh my God, if that's how simple it is, that's how easy it is. But God didn't tell me that it's going to be hard. He didn't tell me it's going to be easy. I felt it was going to be easy, but not knowing how hard it was going to be to go through it. But I was granted and given a chance, because I was asked, what do you want to do? And I told source, I told God that, you know I want to go back. But God didn't tell me, like, you know but it's going to be hard, that, right? But you're going to be tested again, right? But it's going to be difficult. You're here now. There was no like back and forth exchange. It was just like my decision, and my decision was granted. And I looked back and I said, I got to go back. I can't leave like that. And even though I wanted to stay, trust me, I wanted to stay. I did not want to come back. I wanted to stay. But looking back, how can you just abandon life? How can you abandon yourself and the people behind you, that you've done wrong, and you yourself, you're doing wrong. You're doing this lesson as a test, as a student, wrong. You failed, but yet you're welcomed with so much love and compassion. No, no, no. I'm gonna go back. I'm ashamed at that point. I felt shameless if I got in line with the rest of the angels to bow my head and be like, okay, I'm a student angel. Let me go through the next karmic cycle. No, I said, I'm gonna go back to this hell and try to make it heaven on earth and figure it out and I came back into like a crippled body. I had broken bones. I had 75% of nerve damage. I had bleeding in my brain. I had, like a lot of injuries, blood clots, collapsed lung. I had like torn ligaments. I had C5 spinal cord injuries from my neck all
Sheesh.
the way down to my back. Um, I lost all my like the mass to my arm. I had nothing. I was like just like like I had nothing. It was limp. It was like hanging.
My
So I
God,
had
you don't
to.
look like nothing that you've been through.
Yeah, and I felt like I was crushed like a ton of bricks. Like I had cuts all over my face and the back of my neck. I have lacerations and scars deep in my neck, and I had it all in my forehead. I had to use like oils and bio oils and products to like heal and stuff like that early on, and then I had to become going all natural. I had to do a lot of healing and prayer, to believe in no chemicals, to believe that my scars and my skin and my hair can heal again. I had like patches of hair missing. Um, you know, I I had injuries. My pain in my body was always hurting. I had like so much joint pain and stuff. So when I work with clients and they have joint pain and ailments and illnesses, and they've heard my story and they don't believe in themselves, I teach them to believe in yourself through the pain and suffering. You can find that joy and that peace and the light. So it's like a they resist, and it's through that resistance we work with the energies, and they're able to heal their pain and heal the going through pharmaceuticals, or if they want to get off of it or not, and suffering and stuff. But yeah, I came back and I had to go through a whole life journey all over again. It's like rewriting my destiny and choosing a new path and an oath and dedication to life all over again. It's been a lot of work and a lot of struggle.
So let's talk about the new journey that you had to go through,
Yes.
because you talk about having to learn to believe and having to learn how to sort of work with energies. Like, what is that? How did you learn to believe in yourself enough so you could heal? Because this almost sounds like
Question.
in the Bible when Jesus was healing people and everything, and people would be like worshiping Jesus because of it, but Jesus is like, y'all can do the same thing I can do
Yeah, yeah.
if you believe. So explain
Absolutely.
that belief.
So in the beginning, I had no belief. I didn't have belief or will. I had to learn that through the doubt and the fear and the pain and the giving up and the wanting to commit suicide, that there's an energy within me, within us all, that if I'm gonna kill myself in the flesh, I'm not doing myself a service. So I had to look back at the experience I had and realize the oath and dedication that God gave to me to be welcomed back. And so through that realization and acknowledgement, I said, instead of hanging myself on the tree, I'm going to do a sacrifice. Instead of taking all of these pharmaceuticals, I'm going to sacrifice, because that was the first step that I took. Was God gave me uh, a sacrifice. I sacrificed, myself, and I was up there, and I surrendered, and I gave it all up, and I dedicated and I gave an oath to God to come back. So I had to do the same thing down here. So I looked in the mirror and I looked outside at a tree, and I was depressed. I was not working for several years, had no money, had my kids taken away from me. I had a criminal record. I had like assault charges on me. I was just broken and miserable. I didn't know right from wrong. I didn't have like a proper mother, father, parenting figures to uplift me throughout my whole childhood. No support. No one taught me love. No one taught me forgiveness. No one taught me how to overcome resentment, or how to love and forgive, how to respect a woman, how to respect a man, how to talk and communicate. Nobody taught me these fundamental things in life, and I had to just do it myself. And through all the walks of life and the burnt bridges and all the communication I've had with people around my life in this world and environments, and I just kind of did all this inner thought and inner process, and i I said, I'm not going to hang myself on the tree. That would be giving up. I already died, I came back, like what's the point doing it again? And I had that kind of thought contemplation, and I said, if I take all these pills, then it's the same thing. I'm dead as a spirit. I'm good. Like, what's the point? That I'm going to look back at myself and it's going to be pointless again. So what should I do? What strength do I have? I'm giving up here. I have no belief, nothing going on for me. How do I overcome this depression and this anxiety? So, what I did at that time was I looked in the mirror and I just gave up. And I said, I'm just going to die a different way without killing myself. So, I just flushed everything down the toilet that was supposed to keep me alive, that they said, pharmaceuticals and all that stuff that I was on. And and I just started smoking, and I said, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die alive. I'm gonna die like this, like just give up. And I know you are there. I know I'm the source, the spirit is there. And I spoke like that. I said, I know you're there. I know you're listening to me. And and I kept smoking, but I claimed a sacrifice. I said, kill me, right? But I'm not killing me by choice. I'm killing me with in the God in the hands of God, right? And I caught pneumonia. And so when I caught pneumonia 6 times every season that changed: fall, winter, summer, spring. I caught pneumonia, and I would go to the hospital, come back, take a few things, get better, start smoking again, and catch all this fluid in my lungs again. I caught pneumonia 6 or 7 or 10 times, like many, many, many times, fluid and liquid. It would go away, then it would come back. It would go away, and then it would come back. And and I started to think, while I had criminal charges and I'm going to court cases and I'm dealing with my 12-year-old son, or he was younger at that time, and dealing with a custody battle, and I'm dealing with getting my driver's license back, dealing with other karmas and cycles and patterns in my life: anger, abuse, road rage, disrespect, fighting. And I'm going through my own journey, and I'm saying, and I said, you know, ah, that's the sacrifice. So I would smoke, and halfway, and I would put it down. And I said, okay, that's what it is. Is that what that's what I have to understand? And I would get a whisper, yes.
So it
So
almost sounds like you were dying to your flesh. Is that
yeah,
sort of accurate?
yeah. But I was also in tune with speaking and listening. So I was speaking, uh, and listening, and the listening, the speaking from me and from source, and the listening from me and from source, it was simultaneous. And it was direct communication, and it was a realization and enlightenment moments several times in my life. Aha. And then I would relapse, and I would and then I would slowly, over weeks and months or a couple years, finally get to the point where I would get to the last puff, or only take one puff, but I'd eventually just drop it. It took me a span of 7 years after my car accident to officially quit smoking cigarette, and to break that karmic cycle, and to rewrite my destiny, just with that one thing. It was a whole process and journey. And what about the drugs? What about pharmaceuticals? What about abuse? What about anger? What about resentment? What about, like, hate towards my mother and my father? What about love? How to love and send love and receive love? What about affirmations and reaffirming statements? And what about forgiveness, manifestation. You know, what about the cycles of getting fired from over 100 jobs? I've worked for over 100 jobs. I've lived in over 100 homes. 1 year alone, I moved to 20 houses in 1 year.
So those were your karmic cycles,
Yeah,
like a pattern
exactly.
that you were choosing.
That I what That's what my life was. No, what I'm saying is that was what it was that I had to learn and discover how to break free of. So every
Got you.
each so each there was sectors. There's like different things I had to learn to overcome, to become, to create, to get to certain points of achievements. There's so many areas in life that we need to realize. Not It's mind, body, spirit, it's gut health, it's brain health, it's mind, it's blood, it's veins, it's nervous system, it's so many things that I had to fast track over time, but it took years. But I learned how to fast track it and quantify my life experience that led to quantum jumps because I learned everything. I went through the all of the things, the communications, the awareness, the insights, the listening back and forth, the hearing and the talking and the speaking. There's so much to understand, but I put it down into a process, a step by step. It takes time, but I've been able to do it faster now for people, and all my testimonials speak volumes for that. But yeah, I love that question because people think it's so easy, and they want like an easy answer. Like, oh yeah, it took this long and blah blah, and we skip on to the next step. But a lot of people who do podcasts and interviews or documentaries, they do that. They don't break it down like, hey, no, like we we've gone through a lot more behind the scenes than you think. It's not just quick and fast. We're going through the same journey that you're going through. you know
Now you said a couple things. The the listening portion
yeah.
of it, right? So like what is that? Like how do you hear that? And then the quantum jumping as well. I want to get into that and
Yeah.
understand what that is exactly.
The listening has many parts to it because it's not just you're listening for something. You're listening to yourself first. And if yourself is filled with ego, anger, and rage, you have to listen to it. You have to appreciate it. You have to understand it. You have to respect it. You have to acknowledge it. So whether it's hate, anger, road rage, is saying F that person, or oh, you gonna see what's gonna happen, or I don't want to cuss and swear because I can cuss, I can swear, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna cuss and swear and you're gonna talk down and disrespectful, just imagine how people speak. That's how I spoke. So my internal dialogue, right? My blueprint was that. So people think you have to not be the ego, but you have to be the ego to allow the ego to submit and surrender and to appreciate and respect your commands and demands. If you're not going to do that, your ego is going to keep being the ego and running your life and ruling your conscious and subconscious mind. So once you listen to it, you embrace it, you respect it, and you communicate to it, then you have an opportunity to have a relationship with your ego and say, hey, I hate that. Okay, I hate that. I understand. Then it feels like, oh, heard, seen, and felt, and understood, and appreciated. And then you're like, yeah, but I'm still mad. Like your mom is like this, and mom is like this, and dad is like, and you have resentment. I know. I know, but you're listening from a first person, a second person, and a third person to your ego. You're not just listening as a as the body and mind, you have to separate yourself to an awareness, and that awareness becomes the second person. And you're the first person, that's the second person, but then you're also looking at it from another perspective as well, right? You need to acknowledge and understand and appreciate. So there's steps to it. There's a lot of steps to it that I have for people to understand. If I do the whole thing now, it might take that itself can take like an hour or a couple sessions. But I'm trying to give you just an example of the listening to the ego first without dismissing it. When you
Without judgment.
without judgment, if you dismiss it and judge it, then it's going to keep dismissing you trying to become a higher version of yourself. It's not going to support you in that. Once you support your own ego and your emotions, thoughts and feelings, then it will start to transmute and say and able to sit itself in pain and suffering, and you be able to heal and work through some of the anger that you have. Instead of running away from it, you could sit in it and turn it and blossom it into something supportive. Then you can start, then the affirmations and all the positive reinforcement and the podcasts and the healing stuff works. Is a lot of clients come to me and say, I know this. I've been doing it for 20 years. And I'm like, okay. I work with Tony Robbins. I work with Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, and I've had those clients. And in the beginning, it's like that, but then it's like, okay, you know, let me let go of that, because that's also ego. That's also something that we have to listen to before we speak like that. That's that talk has already happened. It's already occurred. It's already coming to us through us. The consciousness, the frequency, the thought waves, and the thought forms already exist simultaneously. We're just picking up on it. That's how string theory works. That's how it all works. Quantum jumping works, is we pick up on it. So if we pick up on that, we have to learn how to disengage and pick up on another frequency. So if we pick up on that frequency and we engage with it, we won't know how to do what is conscious and what is unconscious. We don't know what is serving us and what is not serving us. We don't know if we're being controlled by radio frequency, radio waves, 808 beats and hip hop and rap, or microwave frequencies. And we don't know what's going on because we think we're in control, but we're not. Pretty soon, AI algorithms are going to take over our consciousness. And also 6G, 7G, and Wi-Fi is going to be able to pick up on our own consciousness, and we're not going to be in control of our own consciousness anymore. So we need to understand all of these things so we are fully empowered of our higher self. And it's a lot of work that I had to do and go through, and a lot of things that people aren't teaching that I am aware of, and I help people become aware of. And it's the fundamental things that I can teach you that will help set you free. And that's kind of in a nutshell. And then we can get to listening to positive thoughts, but then we get interjected with ego and doubt and fear and scarcity. And then, oh, that's not, we can't do that. No, yeah, we could do that, we can write that book, but no, I don't know if we have the patience. It's going to take too long. You're not there. Who do you think you are? You're not an author. And then we procrastinate, and we get this imposter syndrome. So we need to be able to use this formula to work the ego and let it be our best friend, and be like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna program you. Listen here, buddy. I know you. You're me, I'm you. And you're going to be quiet right now, and you're going to listen to me. I've already told you once, I told you twice, I'm going to tell you 20 times, I'm going to tell you 100 times that I am doing this. I
Mm,
am going to
I
become.
am.
Yeah. Right. And then it's going to say, okay, fine. And you're gonna be like, yeah, okay. And so it's a process. and there's many processes until you can get consistency. You know what?
Now,
You understand?
I do. And I want to take it back to the quantum jumping piece just because I know that could be something that people hear and they're like, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
what exactly is quantum jumping? What is that?
So the thing before we just dive in deep into quantum jumping, you have to understand that if you don't understand frequency and you don't understand thought form and you don't understand your ego and your anything, and you think you know and you think you understand quantum jumping and positive reinforcement and manifestation and attracting, and I want to jump here, I want to jump there, I want to get this, I want to get that, I want to get this job, I want to get these shoes, I want to get this band, I want to get that money. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. But you're going to get what you get, but you're not going to get the lessons that come with it. So you're still going to be arrogant and spiritually naive because you're going to think you got it, and you're going to think you're spiritual and mindful and mindset, and you're going to think you're a healer and therapist and manifester, and you're going to think you are this powerful person, but you're missing that you got there without the lessons that you needed to take to get that. So you just got it. God's going to give you whatever you ask for. If you want drugs, all right, you want to learn your lessons? Here you go. If you want to get money, here you go. But what about your inner like process and your healing and your karmas and your all these things going on within you? Because I'll give you an example. Let's say you think you healed resentment, anger, rage, and you're like, okay, I'm ready for money now. I want a quantum jump and I want to get this job and I'm going to get this cash flow coming in, or I'm going to just get 20,000 all at once, fast. And you did not purely understand your relationship ego with others. So you're going to get this money and then you end up in a relationship and your ego troubles and your scarcity mindset is still there and your troubles are still there, but you got this money, but you don't know what to do with the money accordingly because your emotional intelligence is not there, right? So you got to understand levels before you get to that level. Like, yeah, I can help you get there. I have clients that say, I just want this. Well, can we just focus on this? I paid you. Sure, fine. Resistance. Okay, I don't want resistance. All right, fine. But if you just surrender, let go, and trust my process, you want to work through the whole enchilada of things, I'll do that and you'll still get that and you'll get more. But if you don't want to and you have all this ego that you don't want me to confront in you and you just want to jump there, I'll do it. Sure, let's do that. And then a year down the road, you'll realize yourself that you didn't work on the areas I told you to work on. So that's just disclaimer.
Mm. Well, what I guess like what is that though? Like
Does that
just
make sense?
it makes sense, but I guess I'm trying to have it like broken
Okay,
down
so
as far
quantum
as
jumping is
like
pulling.
what is frequency?
I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't quite answer. So I hope you understood that, and I just wanted your audience to hear that. Okay,
Yeah.
but quantum jumping is pulling existences from far to near, like experiences that feel so far and being unable to experience it now, but being able to leap into that frequency and that reality. Um, and then having that life instead of waiting 10 years, 20 years and working up to that point, you can actually become that faster. That's quantum jumping. Or
Okay.
you know what I mean, like thinking you can't get to X but you can get that now. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. It's like if there's a detour in the road and it's 45 minutes to get there, but then you didn't know this other like back road that took us there in 10 minutes. It's like that. That's quantum jumping, but you have to be able to understand everything and believe and feel, right? So the belief comes through the pain and suffering. The light comes through the dark. And then you have to understand and embrace that, and let go of belief, let go of the known, let go of the unknown, let go of the control, let go of the expectation while knowing. It's all at once. It's like, I know, but I don't know. Or I don't know it's gonna come, but I know it's gonna come. Like, it's a lot of that, and it's a lot of seeing and visualizing and sitting in the knowing, and then being in the unknown at the same time. It's like, I know I want to go on this vacation, but I don't know if it can happen because my life, there's so much going on financially. But I know I'm going to go, but I don't know if I can make it. But I let go of it all. I surrender and I trust in the unknown, knowing I'm gonna go, even though I feel like, oh my god, things are tight. It's just a lot of balance, but you have to play with that energy, but wholeheartedly actually try to surrender and detach, without expectation. It's a practice, right? It's practice, practice, practice. But that's what quantum jumping is, quantum leaping, and quantifying life experience, and that's what it is. Bending reality. It's all the same thing. Even, getting into a relationship, you could use the same philosophy. If you lose something, you want to get something back. It's the same thing. All the process is similar, same thing. And there's many tools and resources, but many techniques. So many techniques. Everyone has them all. Um,
Kind of like the Matrix, and when he was looking at the spoon, like, no, like,
yeah,
you are the spoon.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're
yeah.
bending. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of playing with that. There's so many things that we're capable of doing.
Gotcha. And so, you have been helping people through source, through guided intelligence, and you touched on it a bit, but can you explain a little more about, how you've actually helped people through being connected to source in this way?
So how am I able to help people do the similar things, and be simultaneous in it and achieve all the things that they achieve in their experience is quite fascinating, and it blows my mind too when it happens, because it's like, I know and I believe in them and I see that it's going to happen, and in the beginning they don't see it to be true. Like, I had this client that had road rage and anger and resentment and money things that he wanted more of, and blocks. And it was carrying on to like road rage and people cutting him off, and him not being able to get his perfect parking spot, or every time he would try to get onto a merge, someone would cut him off. And it's like, he would tell me, because I would ask him questions, and I wanted to find out what happens in your life. And he thought it was a superficial question at first. Then when he got deeper into it, he's like, actually, this keeps happening to me. I didn't know I could tell you this, but this keeps happening to me. And then we worked on it. And when I started to understand and realize what's going on with him, inside of him and around him, and I started to work on it, it had to do with confidence, and it had to do with control and anger. So when I let go of that stuff for him, and he let go of that stuff for himself, and I taught him, the roads cleared up for him. It's like the ocean spread, the rivers opened for him, and he would drive on the road, and he would message me and be like, Malcolm, I got the parking spot that I like always now. I see it, I believe
Mm-hmm.
it, or if it's not there, someone backs out of it and it opens up. Or when I'm merging, that no one cuts me off anymore. And like, that stuff is miraculous. It's miracle. It's like for 20 odd years something has been occurring in a person's life, and it just changes. Another example is like plumbing issues in their home was never something that they came to me for, and they never told me. I didn't know. It was other blockages in their life, or car issues, maintenance issues, money issues, but it had to do with scarcity and it had to do with trust. So when we worked on the trust and the being kinder and loving and forgiving and letting go of resentment, then their plumbing, they said, Malcolm, I had plumbing issues. I never told you, but plumbers would steal money from me, and I had issues for so long. And that's why I'm so angry and resentful. But as we've been working on this, my car stopped breaking down, and the last plumbers that fixed the problem, it's been 3 months, there's been no issues and there's been no leaks. But I didn't think to say anything, but yeah, I've had plumbing issues for 15 years. And I would look at it and be like, how can someone have plumbing issues for 15 years? Like, something's going on. And they would tell me, like, people just, they rob me or they do something crooked and they keep coming back. I keep contracting them. I don't think so. It's naivety, like a lot of spiritual naivety and arrogance and lack of trust that they consciously, subconsciously, um, project, like, this person is going to do something to me, and
Hmm.
then it happens, right? Or,
Right.
like a lot of things like that.
Self-fulfilling prophecies.
So those are miracles, but also, like, money comes in too, and like, material things come in, or like business opportunities happen. And like, I work with a psychologist, and we just worked on her inner child, and her business started thriving, and she's a psychologist, and now she doesn't prescribe clients with pharmaceuticals. Now she just empowers, and now she speaks on panels, and she's getting invited on different panels. But when I first met her, she was not there. Her life wasn't doing that. Her life was like depressed, and she was giving up. She wanted to commit suicide, and she was a psychologist. She was giving up on her work and her career. She had the same clients. Now her business is just 360. It's like just changed. And now she's speaking on panels, and she has a YouTube channel. She speaks publicly now, and she's happy and thriving, and she's blessed. So that's a miracle, right? I worked with an autistic child that, he had autism his whole life. He was 26 years old when I worked with him, and his mother came to me and said, Malcolm, I've tried therapy, psychologists, gurus, health, naturopath, everything. 26 years. I worked with him for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, like actual sessions, but in a span of like 3 months. And he no longer has the symptoms he came with. He's aware, he's conscious aware, he doesn't react, he doesn't do those things anymore, and he's blessed. And his mother left me a testimonial. It's on my YouTube channel. Like, that's a miracle, right? Like,
Right. Right.
those people don't see. They see, oh, well, I could have just done this myself. Yeah, then do it yourself. If you could do this stuff, do it yourself, right? We all have the ability to change our mindset, change our health set, change our brain health, so many things, and help the foods and stuff like that. But that's what I kind of help with, is I guide people, guide their intelligence. They already have it. It's just
They're
sometimes,
not aware.
yeah, it's stagnant, or they revert backwards. We fall back, right? And I'm just here to help and support, and that's what I would love to do, right?
Do you think if you didn't go through your near death experience and visiting, the spiritual realm and coming back and everything, do you think that you would be this way? Like if you never died, do you think you would
No,
have broken the cycle?
I would have died another way. I would have died
Mm,
another way. My spirit was leading me to an inevitable death, because it was done. It gave me the hundreds of thousands of whispers, like, knock knock, knock knock, knock knock. And I would say, yeah, who's there? But I don't give a fuck about what you're saying. You're telling me not to do this. I'm gonna do it. So I was telling God, my spirit, like, F off.
mm-hmm.
Like, I can hear you, you're in my head, but I'm still going to do what you're telling me not to do. And I did that thousands of times. So I was messed up. I was
Mm,
messed up. Like, no one could have came and shooken me and had a big intervention or anything. I could have relapsed, whatever, but I was so ignorant. I was so naive. I was so brain dead, brainless. Like, my family raised me to believe that you're brain dead. you're brainless. You flush your brain down the toilet. You're shit. You're garbage. You're like this. You're like that. You're like this. You're like your dad. You're like your mother. You're dumb. I've been erased. Like, you hear stories, like amazing stories on podcasts and interviews, like compile it all together. I have bits and pieces of it all, you know, and it's crazy, and I just feel that God meeting and going through that experience touched me, but it didn't wake me up until I had to relive it again. Like I said, I went through 7 years of mistakes and karmas and cycles again to break free of it. Like each thing. So I had to put in the work. We can't just get there. We got to put in the work. I put in the work to get to where I am. I put in the work to be able to say I love you. I'd never been able to say the words I love you. I didn't even know how to say I forgive you. I didn't even know how to say how are you doing, have a pleasant day. My vocabulary was, I don't give a f.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a f. I was ghetto. I was ghetto. Yeah, I was beyond ghetto. Like, people who thought they were ghetto and gangster met me and they're like, oh, we're better than that guy. That's how I was.
Mm.
I was like, I was, yeah, dirt.
So my last question, not and it's not really a question, it's almost just like, to encourage, someone that is going through their own negative karmic loop of, resentment, non-forgiveness, and just all the sort of negative emotions that weigh them down. They may even look at this and be skeptical, like quantum jumping, manifestation. Like, what is
Yeah,
this guy talking about? Can you just say something to encourage them to listen, to so they understand they have that spark inside of
absolutely.
them?
I'm sure they focused on the main picture of what I was saying before the word quantum jump, and they got the story. But the thing is, we need to sit in discomfort and befriend it. We need to sit in our emotion and not run from it, and realize that it's not going anywhere. It's not going to do us any worse or any more harm. It's in our mind and it's in our energy, and the sooner we can learn to sit in it and do more of it, like go in a cold shower, or just lay there and say take me, and realize that your anxiety or your depression or your anger is not going to get go anywhere. It's with you. You can transform it, by sitting in it. You can breathe through it. You can, um, try so many things. You just need to realize that there's support and help. Sometimes we can't do it alone. I couldn't do it alone. I had to go through what I went through, to have God by my side and to acknowledge that fully. But sometimes we need a guider. We need someone to hold our hand and babysit us that nobody ever did my entire life. So to that person, like, look, we're here. I'm here. There's people out there. You can find somebody. You can outreach. You can speak to people. You can, start slowly, start watching content. It's you're doing it to yourself. When you say internally, oh, I don't believe that, I doubt that, just change it and be like, look, I know that I'm saying I don't believe it, but I'm going to start to realize that there is truth to all this madness, and I'm going to try something different. Just try something different. Everything else hasn't worked up until now. You have no other choice. Give yourself 2 3 weeks, but be consistent. Don't give up in between, right? And don't hesitate to reach out, so that would be my message for now, because I don't want to give such a big hard concept, because a lot of people, they're struggling in such a deep, hard, profound way. I had a client recently that wanted to commit suicide, and she was saying it to me on every phone call, and she was crying and crying and crying. Now she's happy, and she's manifesting, and she's moving forward in her life. She just needed someone to talk to her, discipline her, guide her, and be that person for her in their own unique way, right? So,
Gotcha. Well, that being said, like tell the people where they can find you on socials. I'm gonna definitely have that information in the description as well.
yeah, so I'm all over socials. You could just Google or on social media, Malcolm Nair with Guided Intelligence or Guided Intelligence. My website is guidedintelligence.ca. You could reach out to me. You could email me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Google. I have my testimonials, and you can just do your digging and your research on there.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Malcolm. I really, really appreciate talking to you, and I know the people will definitely appreciate your story about overcoming and
Yeah.
healing yourself. I think that's so powerful. And as always, thank you all for listening. My name is E. Of course, you make sure you can find me at _real E and Vision Rebirth on all social platforms. But for now, we'll see you later. All right. And cut.